Okay, so the name of today's talk is Life is Bigger Than Our Fears, and we will be talking about the Baha'i faith. I think I've done 2 other talks on the Baha'i faith, so I will link them when I send out the recorded version of it. The song was One Power. That's the Stefan Mitchell version of the song. We're going to be talking about A Life Without Fear, Dr. John Woodall. All of the speakers that I have are very, very well versed in the Baha'i faith. And so we'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about Facing Your Fears, Cheyenne Safar. We'll be doing a very brief overview on fear, what the Baha'i faith believes about fear. So fear not only keeps us from being ourselves, our best and highest selves, but it divides us. It creates distance between people on personal, community, and a global basis. Baha'is believe that there is only one God who has come in many different manifestations, they call it. And they also strongly believe that there is only one human family, that we are all connected, that we are all joined together, that we are all one. Fear does not allow us to let down our guards, to be authentic and real and honest. Fear causes us to put up walls, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. Fear shrinks our world to that which is known. As we open our minds and hearts and let go of fear, we can improve the quality of all of our lives. So in 1325, the Persian poet Hafiz said, "Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I would like to see you living in better conditions." I just love that quote. It's just wonderful. All right, so just quick overview of Baha'i faith beliefs on fear. I'm just going to give you the 6 big talking points, and then we're going to go into a bunch of them in detail. Fear is addressed in the context of a broad spiritual understanding that fear is an impediment to personal and spiritual growth. And so we're going to be talking about the fact that fear gets in the way of us being our best selves. And as I said, it divides us as human beings. But they also recognize that it's a natural human emotion and that it's just part of being alive, is having fear. So there are 6 key points in order to get over fear. The first is trust in God, in his wisdom and guidance. This will help alleviate fear and provide a sense of security and peace. So we're going to be talking about trusting in God an awful lot. The second is purpose and meaning. So the Baha'is very, very strongly believe that we're here for a reason. We're here for purpose. They're going to talk about service. Understanding your purpose of life and the nature of the soul can reduce fear. Life has a divine purpose. The soul is eternal. And these provide broader perspectives and diminishes the power of the fear that we feel. Number 3 is detachment. So Baha'is teach that we need to be detached from material things and worldly concerns, and that helps overcome the fear that is related to loss, change, and uncertainty. They talk a lot, number 4, about prayer and meditation. So this is seen as an essential practice, both of these. I will talk about them more further on, but they are essential practices for managing fear. The spiritual exercises help strengthen our connection with God, and it cultivates an inner peace. So service to others, they're very, very big on this. This is number 5. Engaging in selfless service to others, focusing on the well-being of others can help shift your attention away from your personal anxieties and foster a sense of community and support. And number 6, education and knowledge. Understanding the causes and the nature of fear empowers individuals to address it. So one thing you'll hear me talking about a lot, and Baha'is are very, very big on, is there is a very strong partnership for Baha'is between spirituality and science. And so they're very much into knowledge. They're very much about learning. In both of the talks that I'm going to be pulling from, there is scientific evidence in there. They're very much into understanding the real world of science and how it fits into the spiritual world. So we're going to start with a talk by Cheyenne Safar, it's called Facing Your Fears. So he is a young man. He's now a little bit older since he did this talk, but he's an orthopedic clinical specialist. He's a doctor of physical therapy, and he's a professional stuntman. He started his own clinic called Unity Physical Therapy. This is in Calabasas, California. because he believes in the whole body and healing the whole body. But he is a specialist in, because he's a stuntman, he's a specialist in helping people who are stuntmen and who have great physical endurance needs. And so athletes and stuntmen and actors that are physically engaged. So he helps them to get their bodies to stay strong. If you saw a picture of him, he's absolutely freaking gorgeous. I mean, you can see that he works out all the time. And his clients, the ones that he works with, you can also Google him and you'll see him doing stunts, and it's absolutely freaking amazing. I don't know I can't relate to the names of the movies because they're all like action movies and sci-fi movies, but he's amazing. So anyway, he was born in LA of loving parents who immigrated from Iran with his older brother. He wanted to be a superhero when he grew up. When he went to Philly with his brother on their first trip, his brother introduced him to comic books. First time he saw comic books, and he said he was a relatively normal kid. He did okay in school. On his 17th birthday, his brother took him to a breakdancing event, which was underground in this club. And he said it totally changed his life. People were spinning, they were flipping on their heads, they were doing poses, they were doing things that human bodies shouldn't actually be doing. He said it's the first time that he saw people do that spinning thing in person. And he thought that people that spin on their heads just were born with like flat, shiny heads, and that it wasn't like normal people that do it. And he was just amazed at the physical aptitude of these people. And his cousin said to him, you can do this, you can do anything you want to. You just have to be willing to work hard for it. The next day, he started breakdancing classes. He also started martial art, acrobatics, gymnastics, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. And he said that school just became another way to learn how to become a superhero that he wanted to be. He went to college, he got a bachelor's in psychology, and he took his diploma and he went out into the real world, and he said, like everybody else does, he became a Hollywood stuntman. He said, I learned in order to become a superhero that you want to be, you have to welcome the things in life that scare you the most. People have this perception that stuntmen don't feel fear. But fear is actually what makes us good at our jobs. It is the natural phenomenon for survival that tells us to take what we are doing very seriously. Fear tells us we are really only have one life to live. Fear not controlled can turn into anxiety and paralysis. It can lead to hate, where entire communities and countries are divided because they are scared of each other. We're going to be talking more about that. So when respected, fear causes us to take action. It gives us motivation to go the extra mile. In the day and age where there are so many problems in the environment, where people are fighting against human activity and health problems that seem inevitable and unavoidable, and there is such a turbulent job market, it's really easy to turn to numbing yourself to cope. So we've talked before in some of the other talks about numbing yourself, either with food or with alcohol or with drugs or with other addictions, with watching entertainment, all of that. He says, when you embrace the fear, you're able to live life to the fullest. Baha'u'llah. So just real quick, you know, Baha'u'llah is the founder of the Baha'i faith. His son is Abdul Baha. The Bab is the person who, very similarly to John the Baptist, the Bab came before and said that Baha'u'llah was coming. And then Baha'u'llah came and everybody listened to him. So those are the three main characters, just the way John the Baptist said that Jesus was coming. So when I mention those three, those are the three. But I'll link the other talks that I've done so you can see. So Baha'u'llah said, "O son of being, busy not thyself with this world, for with fire we test the gold, and with the gold we test our servants." When we mine for gold, it is dusty and dirty, and it doesn't look nice at all. We subject the gold to extreme temperatures. We melt it, we break it down to the core. In the process, the dirt and the debris are separated from the gold. In the end, we have this beautiful substance that is wanted all around the world. Souls respond the same way. Throughout life, we accumulate some dirt. Negative self-talk, anxiety, emotional holding patterns, And stepping out of our comfort zone is the only way to deconstruct ourselves to our core. So deconstruct ourselves is what he says that we need to do so that we can be our highest and best selves and get rid of all the quote unquote dirt and leave behind all of the negative. Baha'u'llah said, "O son of man, my calamity is thy providence. Outwardly it is fire and vengeance, but inward it is light and mercy. Hasten thereunto, thou, that you may become an eternal light and an immortal spirit. This is my command unto thee. Do thou observe it." We are asked to go towards things that cause us stress and asked to go towards the trials. These moments will help our spirit grow. So times of difficulty is where you learn patience, and times of loss, he says, is where you learn love. So he talks about the nature and the acorn. So the acorn, is this little bud thing with a very hard shell that has to be stuck all the way down deep into the dirt. The shell has to be broken open and all of the seeds come out of it. And then it has to push its way all the way up through the dirt in order towards the light. And so he says our souls are very much like that. We have to reach up towards the light. We have to go through the dirt to come out the other side of it. So Baha'is believe in a partnership between spirit and science. So there was a study that was done in the University of Dallas with 211 people that were engaged in activity for 3 months. So half of them did something that they were familiar with, like word puzzles or listening to classical music. The other half did something that they were unfamiliar with, like photography or quilting. The group that did the unfamiliar tasks had significant improvements in their memory. In Cornell, there was a study that watched the fMR and PET scans, and they said that engaging in unfamiliar tasks, parts of the brains related to focus lit up. So that would make sense. If you're concentrating on something you've never done before, your brain is going to light up. He says mindfulness-based behaviors actually increase the gray matter in specific parts of the brain. This is known as neurogenesis, the formation of new neurons. So they used to think this is a relatively new discovery. They used to think that after age 25, your brain would not produce any more new neurons. But within the last couple of years, there is a lot of research that shows that if you do mindful activities, very specific mindful activities, you can get new brain cells. And these develop very highly specialized cells, even up to very late in life. By engaging in new uncomfortable activities, in being mindful, you can develop new cells, and this is significant in fighting against neurological conditions. So he says he's asked all the time how he deals with, as a stuntman, the fear of getting ready to jump into a fire or getting ready to jump off a cliff or something. And he relates to this podcast that he heard from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, I've made reference to a bunch of times. And Tony Robbins says, anytime you're in a stressful situation, you have butterflies or your heart is racing and you want to leave, this is the exercise. And we talked a couple of weeks about our heart exercises. So you put your hand on your heart and you breathe really slowly and you think of things that you are grateful for. He says it takes about 2 minutes, but the anxiety will gradually subside. And so he asks you to take your first step out of your comfort zone. And when you feel any resistance, do the gratitude exercise. Abdul Baha, which is the son, says, only have faith, patience, and courage. This is but the beginning, but surely you will succeed, for God is with you. So I wanted to compare some quotes from Baha'i faith to scripture. So Baha'u'llah said, let the fear of no one dismay thee, and be thou not of them that waver. Joshua 1:9 says, be strong and courageous, do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you. Baha'u'llah said, let the fear of no one dismay thee, trust in the Lord thy God, for he is sufficient unto whosoever trusts in him. He verily shall protect thee, and in him shalt thou abide in safety. Isaiah 41:10 says, do not fear, because I am with you. Don't be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you with my strong righteous hand. Baha'u'llah says, love is a light that never dwelleth in a heart possessed by fear. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Baha'u'llah says, say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not, behold your God. Well it is with him who has been illumined with the light of trust and detachment. John 14:27 says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. All right, so I listened to dozens of hours of this man, Dr. John Woodall. I've actually pulled from Dr. John Woodall before. He's a psychiatrist. He was formerly on the faculty of Harvard. His expertise is in PTSD, resilience, and the treatment of resistant depression. And so he is now not at Harvard anymore. He is a Baha'i. He's been a very strong Baha'i. So he lived up in the East Coast. He was called in to help all of the families at Sandy Hook who lost all of their kids. So a very, very big part of his practice for many, many years was helping all of those families come back into a sense of meaning and purpose after losing their kids and their neighbors and their friends and everything. So he specializes in crisis. He's been called in to do crisis management at several other times. So his name is Dr. John Woodall. He says the elimination of fear is the central issue for all religious texts and philosophies. So for the Buddhists, there are two major fears. Death of oneself, or a thought of the loss of another, is one of the fundamental fears about the impermanence of life. The second major fear is emptiness. A life of meaning seems impossible. The world seems hollow, and you don't know what your purpose is. The Baha'i says these are two forces of life that we are powerless over. Once you can acknowledge this and remember that God is our help, founders of all of the major religions have reassured humanity that our truest reality is beneath our fears. Beneath our fears is a sea of grace, divine love, and mercy and forgiveness. The spiritual path is about letting go of fears, enough to allow ourselves to perceive this deeper reality. He talked about metaphorically in Baha'i writing as these qualities that we want to be looking for as gems, contained within our inmost reality, signs of the great qualities, love, mercy, forgiveness, and grace. The gem of divine virtue, patience, gratitude, endurance, perseverance, compassion, knowledge, wisdom, and humility. These are the gems within human reality. Our purpose in life is to bring these gems out. We do that largely through how we address our fears and the challenges in life. Fear is what prevents us from seeing the divine reality within us. All of the religions throughout the history have unfolding the idea that the deeper nature to reality that we have access to, that we do not have to have fear because there is this deeper reality underneath us. Psalm says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Timothy says there is no fear in love. Perfect love drives out fear. The Quran says, verily, on the friends of Allah, there is no fear. The idea of moving past fear into deeper levels of our reality are the core teaching of all of the world's major religions. The vehicle that helps us move through our fear is love. So the Baha'is explained that to each age in history, a special being has appeared who has brought this understanding about God. They served as a mouthpiece for God, confirming their teaching to particular needs of that time. So the message was always about love. It was always about connecting with each other. It was always about how much God will take care of us and protect us and love us. So he says other people that have been what they call manifestations of God are people like Abraham, Krishna, Zoroaster, Muhammad, Moses, Buddha, and Jesus, and that he's just the latest one. So that throughout time, there have been different what they call manifestations of God, but they all have the exact same message. Baha'u'llah teaches the time has now come for humanity to see there has always only been one plan, one covenant between God and humanity, to bring out these gems and divine virtues from human reality and to unite all of humanity around these. Baha'u'llah is the latest of these manifestations of God, and he teaches for all of the planet. So we can see that all that has separated us is just man-made. The teachings about evolution of the global community respects diversity and builds on it to build global unity. The Baha'i teaches if our religious experience is authentic and meaningful, it helps us find a sense of assurance that life has value and is bigger than our fears. We can contribute to life. It's fear that prevents this from happening. The Baha'i believes that all of the challenges we face in life are for the purpose of bringing out these gems that are even hidden from us. It is important to understand you are more than what you know about yourself. There are qualities within you, these gems, that need to be uncovered, and that the trials of life help us to discover and to refine these gems. The Baha'i faith is very much about letting go of fears that separate us. so that we can see the common humanity. We're all in this same process, looking for these gems in ourselves and in each other. We see the beauty of the common humanity. If we are not grounded in a sense of assurance, a deep well of human capacity, the spiritual qualities that are latent within us, then our life is more motivated by fear than it is by love or poise or calm or contentment. When we fear, we start to look for things to distract us from fear. Endless entertainment, wealth, social status, political ideas that find a way to blame another group for our problems. The root of unhappiness for couples, families, communities, the nation is fear. We spend life trying to hold on to something that will relieve this sense of fear. The answer begins with the spiritual question: have we cultivated a sense of poise, calm, and assurance that despite whatever happens, we're going to be okay? Beneath any suffering or fear, there is an ocean of loving kindness that all of us have access to. The life's work for us all is how do we find greater measures of sense of contentment and peace, despite what life is dishing out. The spiritual path is not that we pray and that something changes, but that if nothing changes, we are okay and that we are not attached to the fear that comes. We have the understanding that we have a beauty of being able to be engaged with the gift of life. Through the instruction of all the world religions, and now through Baha'u'llah, we have the opportunity to experience the richness of life with as little fear as possible. Engaged in the task of bringing out these gems that lie within all of us, doing so with gratitude and humility. So the Tablets of the Divine Plan is something that was written, they're kind of like letters, they're kind of almost like epistles by the son of Baha'u'llah, whose name is Abdul Baha. So he came to the US in 1912. He spoke to the US and he wrote these Tablets of the Divine Plan, and they were very specific for each part of the country, telling each part of the country what their strengths were and how they could change and what they needed to do. He spoke about the role in bringing about global peace. He talked about faith and assurance, and if we manage our fears and sense of challenge correctly, what we will arrive at is people who are filled with poise and calm and assurance. That's our job, to become like that, so that fear isn't governing our life, that we have a deep-rooted assurance in this river of loving kindness, ever-present support, and nurturance of all loving, all forgiving God being rooted in that. We have the assurance in that when we can bring that to our own personal list of problems. Faith is what you believe. Assurance is who you've become. That sense of deep calm and poise that even in the face of disaster, you're absolutely peaceful. Here's a quote from Dr. Woodall. If there is a spiritual path that's worth pursuing, this is it. Until humans find a way to expand the sense of assurance and draw strength from it in the midst of life's many cruelties and crushing burdens, until we can find that sense of deep assurance, what we believe means little. We will continue to quiet our fears by dominating others or acquiring more or filling emptiness. So this is the task. This is the human dilemma we are all faced with. Cultivating this capacity is what spiritual life is all about. Beneath all my fears is this capacity for infinite love. So here's what I know. We talked for a few weeks about how fear keeps us from being our best selves. I liked the concept that we must deconstruct ourselves to be our best. That means facing fears, going through challenges to get rid of all of the negative self-talk, anxiety, and emotional holding patterns, as Safar says. That only by doing that can we become shiny and bright and our best selves. The Baha'i faith is very much focused on bringing the family of man together, of creating a sense of unity. They talk about us finding the gems in ourselves, but also in each other. We have to find a way to be more connected. Fear causes division amongst us. Envy, greed, jealousy, these all stem from fear. Envy, that you have something I want or need that will make me happy. Greed, that I have to have more than you so that I can have power over you. Jealousy, you feel threatened or fearful of losing your position to someone else. These are all qualities that divide us, and they all come from fear. Fear can be on an individual level, but it also spreads to groups, communities, and countries. Fear that someone else has more power, more money, more land, or will take ours away. The wars are all based on fear, the need to protect yourself from harm. Only when we have faith and don't live in fear can we move beyond the separation we have. We can let our guards down and be authentic and open and honest. Living in faith allows us to leave our comfort zones, knowing that no matter what happens, we are fundamentally safe. Dr. Woodall talks about being deeply rooted in the assurance that there is a river of loving kindness, ever-present support, and that our goal is to cultivate this sense of poise, calm, and assurance. And we need to find the gems, divine virtue, patience, love, gratitude, endurance, perseverance, compassion, wisdom, and humility inside ourselves, and as importantly, inside each other. We need to rest confidently in the knowledge that life is bigger than our fears. And so it is. Remember at all times, the power is in you. It always has been, and it always will be.